Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Truth Table. I'm Paul Everton, the host. This is episode 98, and my special guest today is Maxime Bernier, the leader of the People's Party of Canada. And this is a show you want to watch and share with everyone because we're going to talk about things that you may have not know about, you may have never heard, but we are going to Max never asks for any questions up front. He's very open to, answer any question. And he has in the past. This third time on the show. And every time, no matter what questions I ask, he's there and he answers honestly. And I appreciate that. I'm grateful. And we're going to ask him some questions right after this.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.
Well, thank you all for joining me. It's Monday, not Monday, August 14th, 2025 on Thursday afternoon, 1 p.m. And my guest, if you don't already know, is going to be um, speaking at the fourth annual Reclaiming Conference, September 19th to 21. And there are different discussions: reclaiming justice, reclaiming health, reclaiming faith and freedom, reclaiming resilience, and reclaiming sovereignty, and reclaiming the future. So all these are great topics with amazing guests, and hopefully someone will record it so we can share it with others. But I'm sure it's going to be magnificent, and I hope you get a chance if you're in Alberta to go see it and hear everything everyone has to say. Dr. Malone is going to be there. There's going to be so many amazing guests, and including Maxime, who's going to be talking about sovereignty. And thank you so much for coming on the show again, Max. It's a pleasure having you back.
Thank you, Paul. I'm very pleased to be with you.
Now, you've taken the position to support Alberta and Quebec becoming independent. So tell me about how you reached that decision and how you feel about that.
Yeah, I must say that I don't support the independence of Quebec or the independence of Alberta. What I support a referendum that will create maybe a real answer from Ottawa, because actually right now we have a federal government that is not respecting our constitution, that is not respecting provincial autonomy. It is right for Alberta. It is right also for every province. We had a referendum in Quebec in 1995, 30 years ago. And I did vote yes, but I didn't vote yes because I was a separatist. I voted yes because I wanted the federal government to stop interfering in provincial jurisdictions and respecting the Constitution. And so we had a federalist during that referendum campaign in 1995 who said, yes, we'll fix that, we'll respect the Constitution. And, after 30 years, it is worse than it was in 1995. We have a federal government who created new national programs on constitutional, on dental care, daycare, and education. So it's all provincial jurisdictions. We have a federal government that is saying to Alberta, you cannot exploit your natural resources. It is a exclusive provincial jurisdiction. So provinces must be able to do what they want and exploit their natural resources like oil and gas or hydroelectricity. So it is, and with the mass immigration right now, the federal government is changing the social fabric of our country, and we need to stop mass immigration. So it is worse than it was 30 years ago. And the only way to be able to fix that is to have a People's Party government in Ottawa. But I understand that it won't happen tomorrow. We are doing politics for the long term with the same ideas and try to educate and inform Canadians about what is happening. And yes, in Alberta right now, you have a separatist movement, and same thing in Quebec right now. The PQ is ahead in the polls in Quebec, and the next provincial election in Quebec will be in 2026 next year. And maybe in 2026, you'll have a referendum in Alberta. So when I voted yes in 1995, I voted yes for having a government that will respect provincial autonomy. That did not happen. So what I did, I decided to jump into federal politics, and I was elected in 2006 with Harper, and Harper did nothing to solve that. And so that's why we created the People's Party, and our platform is very clear about that. And so what I want to be sure that Ottawa will understand, and maybe if we need a constitutional crisis for that, for the federal government to understand what Albertans and Quebecers want, let's have that referendum, and a yes for Albertan will open all the doors. First, you will be able to have Ottawa and having maybe new negotiation to respect the Constitution or a new deal with Ottawa, or also Albertan can become a country, or Alberta can become a country, or Alberta can be the 51st state. So all the doors will be open, but my preference, I'm not supporting the yes for an independent Alberta or for an independent Quebec. I'm supporting the yes to save this country and to be sure that we'll have negotiations with Ottawa that will give us what we want. We want more freedom for Canadians, and we want more autonomy for provincial governments.
Yeah, I see this kind of like a parental thing. Like it kind of tells me you love this country because even though you don't like who your daughter's dating or your son's dating, you still support them. So if Alberta wants to separate, you will support their choice, right? And
Yeah, I will, and I will tell
yeah,
them, we had a yes at 49% in Quebec in 1995, and nothing happened. On the verge to destroy this country, and after that, the federal government is more in control of everything than it was before, and I understand the frustration in Alberta about that, and they're right. So let's have a national discussion, and if they have a referendum, I hope that they will vote yes to be sure to force Ottawa to be at the table and have a new negotiation. Yeah, and maybe Ottawa won't do anything, and Alberta will be independent or a new country. But we need to take that risk because the status quo is not functioning right now, and it will be time to change all that, and we can use that referendum to force Ottawa to respect the Constitution.
Max, I really don't trust the elections. Like we talked before about mail-in ballots, but it seems like we have this technocratic feudalism. Like technocracy is born from progressivism, and the technocracy in Canada was largely founded by, believe it or not, nobody probably knows this, but Elon Musk's grandfather, Joshua Haldeman. And he born earlier into the progressive area. But they inserted the science expert into society to govern and persuade society through trust the science. In the name of security, Carney is propping up our military. This creates a third tenet, military preparedness. So
Yeah.
are you afraid that this country has been completely lost to this technocracy? Because I'm black pilled, Max. I mean, you're like the only light in the end of the tunnel. but we're still in the tunnel. And I just feel like if they're all voting the same way, we really have no selection. We have no alternatives, you know, and they won't let you speak. They won't let you have a seat. I'm almost certain the first time you ran, you must have got seats, and I think they were stolen from you. And this is from my gut. I'm not saying someone cheated for sure, but I just feel like I know everybody I know supports you. That's a lot of people. So I don't so to me that's what I feel. I feel like we've lost our country, and it really bothers me because Canadians are beautiful people. I mean, you've met a lot of people too, but everybody I know and are friends with are good people. All my followers on this channel are all amazing people, intelligent people, rational, critical thinkers. I mean, this fire thing. How do you feel about this shutting down people walking in the woods, $25,000 fines? I mean, is this not the same kind of technocracy we're dealing with as the COVID?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I said that during COVID. I tweeted about that. I said the next will be a climate lockdown, and that's happening right now in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, East Atlantic Canada. It's crazy. It's not to try to control forest fires. It is to control us and control Canadians. You can walk in the wood and be safe. So what is happening right now? It's a provincial government who's trying to control and tell people what they can do or what they cannot do, and 28,000 penalties for that. It's crazy, and I'm pretty proud and pretty happy that our candidate over there during the last election just decided to challenge that in court. And I hope and I think it will be unconstitutional. We have a right to freely do what we want in this country peacefully, and walking in the woods is something that it must be allowed. So it's crazy. If they're serious about controlling these fires, why not imposing huge penalties if you do a fire in the wood, or other regulations that will be. But that's what they're doing. It is not helping. It is not doing anything to stop these forest fires. It is only to control people, and we are there in Canada right now. The federal government did the same during COVID with the COVID passport. So my position is and will be always to fight for people and for their freedoms.
Hmm. Well, there are things I wanted to bring light to, people that may not know. Because a lot of people are just tired of politics, so they just don't care anymore. They're just so frustrated. Watching Parliament is so irritating because the question is asked and then it's not answered. So there's no resolve. There's no, a yes or no. It's always these games, these manipulations, and that doesn't represent us. You're answering my questions. You're not deflecting and talking about something else. I mean, is there anything that we can do? I mean, to free our
Yes.
country?
But yes, absolutely. I know that people, they have a kind of electoral fatigue. But, people must stand up and wake up and speak about what they want. If they're silent, nothing will happen. We need to be out there. We need to speak about what we want, what we believe to our friends and our family. And the People's Party is there. That's why, we created the People's Party to offer another option, a real option with policies that are based on facts and truth, different than the conservatives and the liberals. Uh, so that option is there, and I think it's we can see something is happening in Canada. As you may know, in Europe, there's that populist political parties that are more and more popular. They're speaking about controlling immigration, mass deportation. And here in Canada, we are the populist party, but it's more difficult for us, like you said, during an election. It's first past the post, and the fact that we don't have any proportionality in our electoral system, it is more difficult for us to have our first candidate elected, but it will come. But right now, you can see we try to change the discussion. And if you look 7 years ago, when I said I was speaking about mass immigration and said that we must control that, they were saying that I was a racist. Now, I was right at that time, and we are even more right today. And it's
Yeah.
very difficult to have a discussion about more immigrants right now. The establishment politicians understand that they cannot promote that anymore, but they don't have the courage to stop that mass immigration. So it's moving a little bit, but we need to move the overturn window. We need to have more people on our side. And these politicians that are doing politics by survey and polling, they may look at it and said, okay, we need to change because more and more people are asking for that. For us, we are not doing any pollings, any focus group. We are, having strong policies, and we are fighting for the same policies at every election. So we try to educate people, and it's coming. And I'm pretty sure that at the next election, the People's Party will do better. It's a question of time. I can tell
Mhm.
you, Paul, the People's Party will be there when Canadians are ready.
Yeah, we do need this. Like Doug Ford is a progressive conservative, but he's like in love with Carney and was in love with Trudeau. Uh, he props him up like Carney is so intelligent and so wise, but these trade deals are collapsing and before our eyes. What if he's wise? Is he wise to create this collapse? Like he knows how to collapse a country because financially he's going to just like anyone who's living at the poverty line is going to be devastated by what he's done.
Absolutely. And add to that the economic crisis that is out there, the inflation, the growth of our country is not the same. So it's very difficult for Canadians. And, that inflation and our purchasing power that is going down for the last 5 years, we are poor if you compare our earning with next last year and the year before. So it's very difficult for Canadians right now. And Carney is spending money, it's coming from the sky. And we have this huge deficit. We will have the first budget of Mark Carney, the Liberals, this fall. And they're saying that the deficit may be around $80 billion. It will be the double of our last deficit. We'll see when the numbers will be out, but we cannot afford that. And the liberals and the conservative don't have the courage to cut and lowering our taxes and doing bold reforms. They don't want that. So with Carney, it's a little bit like Trudeau, and the negotiation about Trump is going nowhere. Why? Because he does not want to put the cartel of supply management on the table. He doesn't want Canadians to pay half the price for milk, dairy, and eggs. And it's the same for Poliev. Both of them are protecting this cartel instead of working for Canadians. So
Yeah.
that's why we don't have a trade deal. And if we don't put that on the table, we won't be able to have a new trade deal with President Trump, because for him, he said it a couple of times, and he tweeted about that we need to abolish that communist system in Canada if we want to have a free trade deal with the American.
What I see is a total reformation of society that nobody voted for.
Yeah. No,
Nobody
no,
has a
no.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody voted for more socialism. Nobody voted for more taxes, but that will come, and we'll have that inflation tax also. Because inflation is a tax. People must understand that. If you have 4% inflation, that means that you cannot buy the same amount of goods and services that you used to buy. So your purchasing power is going down. It's like a tax. Instead of the government telling you, I will take money in your pockets and you have to give that to the government is telling you with the inflation tax, keep your money in your own pockets, but you won't be able to buy the same amount of goods and services with that money. So that's a tax, and we have that inflation tax, and it's very difficult actually right now. I was in Alberta this week, and I was campaigning with my candidate Jonathan Bridges. We did door knocking, meet people, and it's tough. I can tell you, it's tough for Canadians right now, and they want real and bold changes. And the People's Party is offering that.
Yeah, another problem is the immigrants can be illegal immigrants even. They can sit there and not work, and they're still making $14,000 more than someone who has a job in Canada. So
Yeah.
they're being bought off. I've heard, you know, it is secondhand, so I can't authenticate that, and this is the truth table, and I don't like to do that, but it was said that the immigrants are being told to vote liberal, and their money train will continue. So they're buying the votes literally. Now this is hearsay, but still, it's quite possible. It makes a lot of sense. We know how much they're getting. So it does make perfect sense. Also, a lot of people, Islamic people are being put in positions of power. The health minister in Ontario. So this is pretty scary for me because diversity is causing, their diversity and equity. This is how they're positioning all these people and parties in powerful positions. So I'm watching my beautiful country being taken over, and it's only going to take maybe 10 years, and we're going to have Sharia law.
Right. But
That's my prediction.
in Alberta, you have Daniel Smith that is trying to do something for that on the financial side. I don't know if that policy will be enforced or not, but no, we are a country under the law, and nobody must be above the law, and cannot have two kinds of law. The law must apply to everybody, and now that's not what is happening with DI policies. It's a discrimination. They're giving more rights to a person that is an immigrant or from another religion. That's not the society that we want. We want everybody being treated equally under the law and by the government, and that's not happening right now at the federal level. So we need to change that. It's a big that's why I don't recognize our country, and that's why we need to have that discussion that Ottawa doesn't want to have about what must be our country for the future. And I can tell you, we just have to go back to 1867. The fathers of our Constitution did a good job, but we did also a good job not respecting what they wanted. And that's why, now you have a constitutional crisis across the country, in Quebec, in Alberta. You have an economic crisis, you have inflation. So let's go back to the roots of our country and be ready. We must be ready for a bold changes. But liberals and conservative, as you know, Paul, they don't want that. Their first goal and the only goal is to be in power. And after that, they are pandering. They are pandering to ethnic communities by, for example, reunification of family. The conservatives is okay with that. When you are an immigrant and you come here, you can come with your wife or husband and kids. But for the liberals and the conservative, reunification of family, it's a huge family, brother, sister, grandmom, granddad. No, we must
Yep.
stop that. And that's why we said moratorium, a pause on immigration for a couple of years, because now we are not able to integrate all these people in our society. They're living in ghettos. And you just have to travel in France or in UK, and you will see what is happening over there, what is the result of mass immigration.
And I have to be clear, I'm not against Muslims or Jewish or any other ethnic background, Hinduism. I'm not against anyone. I see the whole world as our brothers and sisters. So let me be clear about where I stand. There is no hate in my heart for anybody, but I do understand, um, being here my entire life, what Canadians are like, and Sharia law is what I'm seeing. I mean, Europe, I mean, is getting burned to the ground. It's just absolutely insane over there. But it's also showing us what could happen here.
Yeah.
It's demonstrating the UK is like, oh my God, it's absolutely insane. So I'm not against that, but I do know that Islam is not a, a not compatible with Canada. You see, under Islam, you have to pay a tax to practice Christianity, for example. They look down on you for being a Christian, and Christians don't do that generally. They accept everybody. Now, I'm not a Christian myself, but I am very I study religions. I want to know what everybody has to say, and because in order to understand and communicate with others, it's best to understand where they're coming from and their background. Now we're going to talk about something that many people don't know about, and that is the power of the Laurentian. Laurentian. So tell our listeners about this power that they yield in Canada that people don't know about.
Yes, you're right. We call them the Laurentian elites. And that's all these politicians who are trying to have support in Quebec and Ontario. And for them, because Quebec and Ontario, there's a lot of seats over there. As you may know, in the big GTA around Toronto, there's more seats than in all Alberta. So to be able to be in power, to be able to be in government, they are pandering to Quebec and Ontario, and because of that, and so the elites over there, and what they want, that's leftist elites. They want a bigger government. They want more control. They want a federal government that will solve everything, and they don't believe in provincial autonomy. So what is happening is in Western Canada, in Alberta, Saskatchewan, they're fed up of that. They know that if they vote conservative, they may have a liberal government, and if they vote conservatives and they have a conservative government, that government will run the country like liberals, because they will want to please all these immigrants that are living near Toronto. They will want to please Quebec, and for example, Polyev is not speaking about cutting the equalization payments. Polyev is not speaking about withdraw from the Paris Accord. Polyev is not speaking about all the woke ideology. Polyev is not speaking about more provincial autonomy. Actually, he is okay with all the programs that Trudeau put forward into provincial jurisdictions, like daycare, like dental care. That's all under provincial jurisdiction, and Polyev said that he will keep these programs. So Polyev is okay by not respecting the Constitution. So people out west now, they understand that their traditional politicians are there to listen to the elites in Eastern Canada, and for them, they cannot develop their own natural resources. They cannot manage their health care system like they want, with more private delivery because of the Canada Health Hack. So there's a big problem there, and because of all that, we are there as a political party, and we are telling them, look, the PPC is there to give you everything that you want, but also to give every province what they want by having a smaller government in Ottawa. But now for some of them, it's a little bit too late, and they want to have a referendum on the secession. And I'm saying, yeah, if they don't understand, let's do it, and that will you'll have all the cards in your pocket, and you'll be able to have a real discussion with Ottawa after a yes in a referendum.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate your time. I know we've only got about 15 minutes left. I wanted to get us through as much as possible. The government, the Canadian government, used a spy program called Pegasus. Have you heard of Pegasus?
No, no, not that one.
Yeah, Pegasus infiltrates your computer without permission. You don't have to okay it. There's no do you accept or anything like that. It just goes in and takes what it wants. So they can target anyone. So this is anyone can look it up. Pegasus in Canada. Um, so let's if you don't know about it. We don't need to get into it, but I do want to talk about Stephen Harper. Now, you did work for Stephen Harper, and I liked him. I found him very calm and cool, and I don't like everything he did, and I don't know about your relationship today, if you even have one. But he's running a company, AWZ Ventures, and it's assisting Israel with facial recognition technology to help locate Palestinians. Now, I don't know, were you aware of this?
No, I was not, but I know that he's working. He's pro-Israel. He was pro-Israel when he was prime minister, and now in the private sector, you know, is also share the same views.
Hmm. And Canada ended the non-binding. Canada ended the non-binary Nexus IDs after the U.S. rules demand male or female. Will the Canadian government reform back to common sense with the U.S.'s help?
Yes, absolutely. As you know, there's only two sexes, and male and female, and that's it. I really liked what President Trump did in the beginning of his term, ending all these woke policies, being sure that biological men won't be able to compete in sport and competitions against women. He did that, and all the woke ideology. It's Trump did a good job to go back to the common sense. And for us, this is common sense. We won't promote anything. Actually, we will cut fundings to woke organizations. We will do that because we believe that it's the right thing to do, and it's the right thing to do also to be able to balance the budget and be fiscally responsible. But now the federal government is giving money to all the third party organizations who are promoting woke ideology in schools. So no, let's go back to the real common sense. And you cannot. There's no transition. But for Polyev and the conservatives, they all voted in favor of the bill C4. That's a transition bill. That's the bill who's saying, you're a boy, you can be a girl, and vice versa. And if you're a parent and you want to speak with your kids about, the fact that there's only two sexes, you can go in jail for 5 years. That is in the bill, and the conservative voted for that. So they're like the liberals, and it's a big difference, a very huge difference between us and all these traditional establishment political parties.
Would you ever be willing to have a debate on this show? Like, not with me, but just with other people, just to.
Oh,
Yes? Okay.
absolutely. Because I believe that we are on the right side of the argument. I believe that we are telling the truth. I believe that it's our job, and it's my job as politician to be out there. And the best way to show that to people is to have a debate with somebody on the other point of view. Actually, yes. Can have a debate on climate change. We can have a debate about the federal government and what it's doing or not doing to provinces and to us Canadians, and a debate on our program. And if people want to know more, they can go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, and read our platform. Everything is there. Only 2 pages on every subject. So, and we just launched our new policy on federalism. It's on our website. So that is telling you what we believe and what we will do when we'll be in government.
Well, I do appreciate you, and I love having you on the show, because there isn't any leader of any other party that I would even have on here, because I just don't believe them anymore. I mean, while you were in the conservative government, did you notice the changing happening while you were there? Like, I know you ended up leaving
Yeah.
because of the changes, but I mean, you went to jail for 12 hours just for talking to a dozen
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Manitoba. I mean,
Absolutely. But when I
so you,
was with Stephen Harper, um, I can tell you that Stephen Harper was a good manager of a big fat government interfering in our day-to-day lives. What is the legacy of Stephen Harper? About nothing. Maybe yes, he dismantled the weed board, but Trudeau destroyed his legacy in 1 year. So that being said, that's why I left and we created the People's Party, because the conservative was only conservative in name. Actually, Harper was the one who did the biggest deficit in the history of our country during the financial crisis. He was a big spender, like to spend money that we don't have. And I resigned and I said, the Conservative Party of Canada is morally and intellectually corrupt. They don't promote conservative ideas. And Poliev was pandering to Quebec to have more support. Actually, he's the one who increased the equalization payments to Quebec to try to have more support. And he was pandering to ethnic communities across the country to have their support by opening the door to more immigrants. He started that, and Trudeau just finished it. But yeah, that's why I left. And that was the best political decision in my political life that I took.
well, you were with Stephen Harper. No, like I said, he's very likable. I can see myself sitting down with him and having a conversation. But I mean, he initiated the sustainable development.
Oh,
I mean, and you
absolutely.
were. I mean, do you support it?
No, but actually, that was our decisions. We didn't have a vote in the House of Commons on that, and but Harper decided to sign that, and Trudeau did the same. And now you have all these legislations to fight climate change, and they are telling us that there's a climate emergency. There's no climate emergency. The
No, it's
climate
good.
is always changing. But yes, you're right about Harper. He signed that, and he strongly believes that the climate change is important and dangerous for our society.
Yep, yep. You know what scares me too is the powers of like the Privy Council. Are you a member of the Privy Council?
Yeah, so we just have to explain that to be a member of the Privy Council, it's when you're a minister at the federal level. It's a title that they give you, but there's no meeting. I just want to tell everybody that there's no meeting. I'm a member of that because I was industry minister under Harper, and so when you have that title, I'm a member of that, and the title that you have with that, it's honorable. So when you're a minister, you are honorable, and you can keep that title. And that title is part also of the Privy Council. If you're prime minister, you're right honorable for your life. But there's no meeting after politics, and we never had a meeting actually. So the only communication that I had, because I was and I'm still a member of the Privy Council, was an email that I received when the Queen died. I received an email, and they said, if you want to go to London for their funerals, you're welcome. We can reserve a seat for you,
Mhm.
but you have to pay your expenses to go there. And I said, no, thanks, I won't go. So it's only a title. There's no meeting. There's no discussion. When you are a minister, you are part of the cabinet, and the decision and the discussion are taking part at the cabinet meeting. And after that, you table legislations, and the parliament will vote on the legislations that you just tabled in the house. So people think that the Privy Council, the king is controlling our politician with that
Right.
Privy Council. No, it's not happening. And I can tell you that because I'm a member of the Privy Council, and I never receive a call, never receive a, the only thing, it's an email by civil servant in Ottawa saying that if you want to go to the funerals of the Queen, you
Yeah.
can go and pay for your expenses. That was the only communication.
See, that's what's so important about this show is a lot of people don't understand these things, and you're not afraid to answer them, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for coming on the Truth Table once again. You're always welcome here because I know you're going to tell me the truth, and people need the truth because there's a lot of people trying to dismantle, and infiltrate and create division amongst people who just want to be free. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. And any final words you'd like to share with our followers?
I want to thank you, Paul, for having me. That's always fun, also. And it's important for me to be able to speak with your people and because, as you know, the mainstream media is canceling us, canceling the People's Party. So the only way for our policies and our voice to be out there is to participate in podcasts. And I'm very pleased that you are there and doing your job, telling the truth to Canadians. And for me, that was a nice opportunity today. And let's stay in touch. And if you have other questions or you want me to be back, I will for sure.
Awesome. Yes, I will want you back and maybe a debate. Let Because I know you will give straight answers, and I wish you well on the conference next month, the
Yeah,
September 19th in Calgary. So I wish you a great day. Thank you again for coming on the show.
I appreciate that. And everybody's welcome to that conference early September. And thank you, Paul, for speaking about that Reclaiming Canada conference. They can go on the website. So yeah, it will be very interesting. I'll be there with other speakers. So let's and if people want to follow me, I'm on Twitter or X. Maxime Bernier, or they can go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. So thank you, Paul. Have a nice day. Let's stay in touch.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Max. And thank you all for coming. It's not over yet, but I always appreciate when Max comes because he will answer any question I come up with, and all his all the candidates are the same, including my friend here, Peter. Welcome, Peter, is a candidate for Niagara Region. Um, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I love how you always try to get an hour and a half of questions into a 45-minute show. I love how you do that. And somehow you pull it off. So you're doing a great job. And it was great listening to Max and his answers and his forthrightness. Thank you.
Yeah, well, he's amazing. He answers every question. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask, and and I don't try to set him up or trick him or but I am asking honest questions, right? And I mean, asking honest questions is probably why you became a candidate, right? Because you asked questions and you did some research on all the other parties, and
That's part of it, I think.
hey, Kirk.
And what's interesting is what Max said about the Conservative Party. I was a member of the Conservative Party for a short time. I went to a policy convention. I became a delegate. And I thought, okay, this is how we can change the Conservative Party by going to one of these policy conventions. I felt it was like all a scam. It was all set up. Everything is
Yeah,
predetermined. It's all there just for theatrics. In fact, most of that Conservative Party convention was infiltrated by leftists, climate change zealots, um, student debt forgiveness apologists. It was full of Marxists that were trying to change the party. And I said, well, you know what? That
yeah,
whole structure is open for infiltration and for weak leaders to give in. But that's why I think the PPC is structured differently because it doesn't have those kind of things where the members can sort of they can voice their opinion absolutely, but they're not going to change the party. So you can't have people who are going to come in and change the party to make it less strong than what it is right now. I think the reason it is strong right now, because all of the policies are the policies mostly of Maxime Bernier. He made those policies up. And I think that's a very good way to lead a party. I joined the party knowing exactly what the party stands for. I
Yeah.
didn't join it because I'm not sure it's going to flip flop or I just want power. I want ideas and I want them clearly articulated so I can choose for myself. And I think that's very important when you have the leader of the party doing that and who's in charge of that. Because ultimately, I joined the party because of those ideas. And those ideas are a manifestation of Max's principles and his commitment to his ideals.
Yeah, I have no problem with his platform. Nothing. There's nothing in there that bothers me. What bothers me is all the other parties are saying one thing and doing another. That's a problem for me. Or the opposition asking a question, and the the party majority party just deflecting and dancing around circles, not even answering the question. So I want that to end. Like I can't
Yeah.
even watch Parliament. I rage because of the childish banging on their desks, yelling and heckling. This is a place of business. This is you're supposed to be the adults in the room.
Yeah, when you recognize, Paul, that it's mostly a lot for theatrics so that people
Mm,
can see what they're doing and make it look as if they're doing something without any principle. So it's all show, and it has to be that way because they have no principle. So because they have no principle, they have nothing to stand behind. So
yeah,
that's what makes us very different is because
yeah,
we can defend our position, we can defend our principles. We don't have to bang on tables, although sometimes we might because it also could be good for effect as well. So I get it. I understand why they're doing it, but you also have to have the principles. And when you don't have that, all you have is the theatrics, and that's unfortunately what unfortunately not enough people have recognized yet.
yeah. And you plan on running again? You're not giving
Yeah,
up?
God willing, if I'm still here when the next election is called, then I'd love to run again. For me, I take the words of Mother Teresa to heart that it's more important to be faithful than it is to be successful. I worked very hard in the last federal election and in the last campaign. I was canvassing for 6 months before the election was called. I didn't know when it was going to be called. I was just getting out there proactively, meeting the constituents, and I thought that would make a difference, and it did. It did make a difference. It marginally made a difference, but it's very difficult when people make up their minds to go with one of the big parties. It's hard to change their mind, especially when they're being programmed by the mainstream media, which I
Yeah,
think
and
is an issue.
even liberals that may not agree with everything. They've got their flag. They're liberal. They're liberal flags forever, and they're gonna stick with it. They've got that loyalty, um,
Mhm.
despite what's happening. And
Yeah,
the liberals and the NDP don't knock on my door to canvass. They don't.
yeah.
Never.
And I think that kind of tribalism is quite dangerous because you no longer are willing. You say like those people who are bought into this tribalism, they're going to vote red no matter what, or blue no matter what. I don't even think they recognize that the two are roughly the same. The liberals and the conservatives are not that different. So it's only because of the color of the party or the leader of the party or just the fact that their grandparents voted that way. And I think that's very dangerous because that's not open-minded, and in fact that I think is it could be a manifestation of closed-mindedness. And it's how do you reach those people, because ultimately it is a battle of ideas. And so we have to convince people that our ideas are the best ideas. But number one, we have to communicate them, which we have been doing. Max has been doing it very successfully. But number two, the harder thing is you have to have the people who are willing to listen, and that is not happening. They're not really. When I was going door to door, they listen, but then my voice for that little bit period of time that I'm at their door can't overcome the hours a day they hear of CBC or CTV or CP24, all the government sponsored mainstream media that is basically government propaganda. Because number one, we have in our country, we have a free press. The reason we have a free press is because the purpose of media is to call out government corruption and to call out government when they're doing something wrong. When we have government funding media, we no longer have a media that is free, but we have a media that is competing for those dollars that the government is giving. So they will print and promote the party in charge so that they can get more money. And that's a broken system. And in fact, I think that violates our charter right to a free free media.
It's kind of scary because we have whistleblowers like Helen Bruce, a
Yeah.
police officer who was doing her job, and we have Kirk Reese, which is funny because he says the politicians aren't knocking on his door either. But you're on a boat; they're not gonna like swim to your boat. Permission to come aboard. vote for us. But I mean, who do you vote for? I mean, these whistleblowers are there as checks and balances. Because if
Right.
you
I
have
think
that
that-
employee stealing your products or whatever, you want to know about it and you want to replace them.
yeah.
That's
And you know,
gone.
but the whistleblowers, it's the job of the media to report what the whistleblowers are saying. And
Yeah.
when they choose not to because of political allegiances that they may have, like you mentioned Helen Bruce, I mean she's being reprimanded because of her political position, not because did something wrong or she did something that was criminal. No, she did something that was going to potentially hurt big pharma. And the ruling class wanted to protect big pharma rather than infants who had died unexpectedly. And she wanted to investigate that. So that's one example. And I think what is comforting, though, which I 2 days ago, LifeSite News printed or posted an article that X is having more views and becoming more of a source for Canadians than any of the mainstream media. So the fact that X is becoming a bigger source of news for Canadians, I think, is a very good turn. And I think that's what will make the difference is the media. When we have truthful media that is not bought out, then we can see the change. And then the true ideas, the ideas that are our principled ideas, will be heard, right? Because right now they're not being heard by a lot of people.
No, they're not.
No.
I mean, do you think if you got a seat that you would be able to actually change anything without being a majority government?
I believe if we had one seat, if Max had his seat, if I had a seat, if any of these PPC candidates who really truly believe, which most of them do, truly believe in what we stand for and are truly believing in principles, we would make a bigger difference than the entire Conservative Party did during the pandemic. We would have raised more opposition to, for example, lockdowns, to the criminal act that basically I believe when Trudeau shut down the convoy, we would have put up more of a opposition than the entire Conservative Party. So I absolutely believe all we need right now is we need one seat. And even without a seat, I think we are shifting the discussion towards our ideas. You see places like Juno News, which is a big conservative outfit. They now are taking our ideas and then claiming them as conservative ideas, and they're trying to push our ideas onto the Conservative Party and saying this is what the Conservative Party believes, which I find very interesting because I know Juno News, they believe in our ideas, the PPC ideas, but they also want the Conservative Party to win. And so they've got a difficult I guess, line to walk because Keen Bexty, who is the founder of Juno News, his father is a CPC MP. And so he's trying to push the CPC forward, but he's also trying to push the PPC ideas. So it's a very unusual balance, and I think they're not being honest with themselves because they know that the Conservative Party has been pro lockdowns, pro mass immigration, the pro SDGs, the Social Development Goals from the UN. They've pushed all the same nonsense that the Liberal Party has pushed, and yet they're trying to claim that the Conservative Party is against mass immigration, that they were against the lockdowns, that they were against the vaccine mandates. Everything that we were for, our ideas, they're trying to project them onto the Conservative Party. And I find that very interesting. And I hope one day, like places like Juno News will just report the news. And they're supposed to be somewhat of an ally, but they're completely conservative shills. But they like our ideas. They want the PPC ideas. So I find it an interesting line that they're walking.
Well, I think it's admirable that you're sacrificing, because you're running a farm, but you're sacrificing your career in modeling and.
well, I mean, I do want to eat.
Yeah, you have to eat.
Well,
right?
I think I have to sacrifice that job, right?
And it's good to smile. It's good to laugh. And we definitely need it, because we are talking very serious today about some serious things like the Laurentian powers and Pegasus. Have you heard of Pegasus?
No, I haven't. I heard you talking about that with Max. Sorry, I haven't heard of it. I heard of the Arrive scam and all that, and how they were following people around, and Health Canada was following people around.
Pegasus is used by CSIS, and so really all the crime and all the criminals they could catch, throw them away, throw the key with Pegasus. They've got all the information, so that would get rid of a lot of problems, including fentanyl and all these drugs that are happening. Pegasus could find and basically target all these crimes, but they're not doing it. They're not using it for that. They're using it for us.
Well, if they did use
traditional values.
If they did use it for that, it would sound an awful lot like a movie from the 90s, Minority Report, where the government would charge you before you committed your crime. So I don't think that's what we want either. That's for sure. No,
like a pre-crime. But traditional values, they actually said that, the RCMP.
Yeah, that was the RCMP. Yeah, the RCMP commissioner. I heard that. That was astounding. That she said anyone with traditional values is now like extreme racist. That if I believe there's only two genders, then I'm a homophobe or a transphobe or whatever whatever label they want to use. It doesn't matter. They'll throw it at us, and that's okay. And that's really okay, because I'm not afraid of that. I'm more afraid of not standing up for what is good, true, and just.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have this like technocratic feudalism, where there is an illusion of freedom. Like you can go outside and you can walk around the block, but if you want to buy something, or there's always ID and license to fish. What is that all about? Come on now. They do it in different ways. And what's your stand on these $25,000 fine for walking in the woods?
Just another example of government overreach, where they take something that is perfectly legal and they try to make it illegal. They try to control people. I am all about smaller government. You see, it doesn't make a difference whether it's liberal or conservative. The problem is big government. When the people in power don't feel like there's any accountability, they will start acting like tyrants very quickly. They feel like they're untouchable. And in fact, they are, because the government is so big. They have so many people working for them. They can hire whoever they want. That needs to stop. That needs to end. I think that if we made our government smaller, if we fired half the government workers, I think our country would still go on.
Yes.
What do you think, Paul? I think so too.
I think it will. Now, have you
Yeah.
heard of all the whistleblowers? Like we have, I've had most of these people on my show: Kirk Reese, Sue Spruill, Luke Sabrin. I don't think I had him on my show. David Drover, I haven't had him on my show. Michael Jackson, yes, from Saskatchewan. So I had most of these whistleblowers, and I bring them on because the media is not touching it.
Yep.
I mean, they did talk about Helen Cruz. That was on the media, but still, she did the right thing.
Yeah.
She didn't do anything wrong. She's protecting children here. We're talking about children. That's what she found.
Well, see, if your whistleblowers are I didn't the ones you mentioned there, I haven't heard them, and I didn't know exactly what they were exposing. But if any of them are exposing government corruption, now that is no longer being covered. In fact, that is being ignored because
Yeah.
of the fact that we don't have a free media anymore. It's only independent media that is able to do that anymore. And so
Yeah.
that has come to an end. We have to go back to a free media. There shouldn't be a single media company that gets a dime of taxpayer money. Every single, whether it's subsidies or job training placements or any of that kind of nonsense, there should not be a dollar, a dime of taxpayer dollar going to media companies or, for that matter, any corporations. If you have
Yeah.
a product that is a successful product and you need government money to make it get off the ground, guess what? It's not a successful product. You're fooling yourself. It's a grift that you're trying to steal taxpayer money. There shouldn't be a dime of money going to any corporation.
Yeah, I agree. And I have so many issues like what they're finding in the food, and they're changing the names, and sometimes they're using Latin to hide what's in there. I mean, these are crimes that this is the fascism. This is a company and the government, and the corporate lawyers are creating these bills and these laws so they can get away with it. But
Yeah,
the government is also complicit in this, and even the whistleblowers with Pegasus. I mean, RCMP has all the whistleblower information. They have access to all of it, so they could do. Unfortunately, the RCMP has corruption in it too. I mean, I've interviewed police, RCMP, military, army, um, uh, uh, Kirk Reese. Oh my God, Rangers. So I mean, and it's everywhere. There's corruption everywhere. Vincent Gersey's OPP. Um, so it's sad for me because I was grown up. People didn't lock their doors in their cars or their homes. We didn't even have locks. We didn't need them. I mean,
yeah,
that's who Canada is to me. And that's being stolen, like socially engineered through our schools. And then the flooding of this Islam. People don't leave Islam, you
no,
know, they're pretty dedicated, and they're coming here even against the Quran. It says to seek out Muslim countries. I mean, their own book tells them that. I've read it. So I read it so I could understand them. It wasn't out of hate or anti Islamophobia. I'm not scared of Islam. I don't agree with it. I don't agree that women, should be covered, but men can't be covered. If you're going to cover yourself in a religion, then the men should be covered too. You want to cover the face of the women, cover the face of the men equally. If that's what you believe, and also as Christians, they don't, Jesus is alive. They don't pray to someone dead, and Muhammad is dead. It's the Bible tells us clearly not to tattoo anybody who's dead or pray to anyone who's dead or have images like Mary in a church is wrong. You're not supposed to have images of people in heaven, and I'm assuming Mary is no longer with us.
well,
The mother.
anyone who's in heaven is not dead. They're alive. They're more alive than me or you are. So anybody who's in heaven, including Jesus, like you mentioned, is alive.
Yeah,
They're not dead. And I
yeah,
believe that when you die, death is when you are no longer in, and when you are no
mhm,
longer with God. Right? That's death, and that's forever after you die. So yeah, but what were we talking? There was one other thing that you mentioned about that I wanted to talk about. You kind of covered a whole bunch of topics in
I did.
classic Paul style. You hit about 8 different points, and I'm like, okay, which one? They were all so good, and I wanted to just catch one of them. But yeah, we need to make government smaller because the terms fascism and communism, they're really the same thing. The
Yeah.
left can become bad, the right can become bad. When we no longer protect individual freedoms or human dignity, you get fascism or communism. And when the boot's on your neck, from your perspective, they both look the same, right?
Hmm.
So there is no real difference, and we have to be careful because we're on the right. I think every single person, every individual is capable of corruption, and so you have to. I always have to be on guard to know that I'm also corruptible. And so what keeps me from being corrupted? Well, number one is the belief that I'm going to die one day and I'll have to meet my maker. So I want to do the right thing even when no one is looking, because I'm still judged for that as well. So
Yeah.
that's what keeps me from knowing that I have to continue to act in a way that will protect human dignity, that will enhance freedoms, that will promote justice, that will promote freedom. And I think that's the only way. When you start looking at yourself as the person that needs to save people, like the way these politicians do, like in Nova Scotia, Tim Houston, he believes he has to save people from going into the forest because they're too stupid and they might start a fire. And they're going to, and you see this kind of paternalism and this nanny statism that
Yeah.
comes not just from the left, but it comes from the right too when they have too much power and when a government is too big.
Is it possible that they don't want any witnesses to the arsonists?
That's another story. Who knows? Maybe that's it too, right?
Yeah.
That's usually the leftists. I mean, how many churches have been burned down in Canada?
Yeah, not on the news, is it?
No,
No.
no. And so they're not raising any alarm bells about that. But we have forest fires every year in Canada. It's part of being in Canada and having hundreds of millions of trees in our country. That is going to be a risk,
Yeah.
and we have to accept that freedom does have risks. But
Mhm.
what is a far greater risk is government control, totalitarianism. Those are far greater risks than freedom is.
Yeah. Well, there's a UN plan by 2030, 30% of Canada. And basically, I've seen 2 maps where they mark the area, and that's all the area that's on fire right now. So
Mhm.
we also have the RCMP admitting to starting fires. But I had no idea that Elon Musk's grandfather is the founder of the technocracy in Canada. Joshua Haldeman. He basically birthed the progressive era in Canada. So I mean, and there's a lot of things that we talked about in this show that I would bet most people don't even know about, because I know I didn't know about it. And I want this show to be about truth, but I also want it to be about exposing things that people may not know. Like
Right.
people don't really know how amazing Canada can be if we had a PPC government. They just
I agree with that too. And as great as Elon Musk has become, he did get a lot of government subsidies, and I don't fault him for that because they were giving them to him because he was a genius, and so they were giving it to him. But he shouldn't have got any government subsidies. There should have been zero government subsidies. He should have built himself up on his own merit, and that's a completely different thing. If he had become wealthy, which I mean, granted, he probably would have still become as wealthy as he is without those subsidies, but they shouldn't have been there in the first place. There should have been no subsidies for getting his space company off the ground or for his internet company. If it's a good thing, he'll figure out a way to do it. He doesn't need government money to do it.
Are you up for a question? We have a question.
Absolutely, let's do it.
All right, Richard French. Here we go. Thank you for your question. What's your opinion on biometric identification system Mexico is going to implement by 2026, where all on the same landmass? Yeah, I think we touched on that earlier as well. So, what do you think about this?
I'm not a fan of more and more of your personal information getting into the hands of government. I'm really not a fan of that, and I know that it's getting out there already. That government is taking down so much information, and I think the whole income tax thing, like I know what, like for example, Donald Trump is trying to eliminate income tax in his country by putting forward these tariffs. I think it's a big risk, and I don't know if it'll ever happen. But as soon as we signed up and we started getting involved with income tax, then we accepted this system. We accepted the fact that government will have some control over us. But to go to the next step and say that they will now have DNA, they will be able to identify us by our retinal scan, by our fingerprints, I think this is a huge issue. That they'll identify us even just from one of our hair strands. I think this is a huge issue. And I think all this government surveillance isn't going to make us a better society. Them knowing where I am at every second of the day is not going to make us a better society. I think empowering individuals is the way to make ourselves better, not empowering government.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, thank you for coming on the show again. I think
Oh,
it's
thank
been
you
about
so
three
much
times.
for having me. Yeah,
I,
thank you so much.
I hope you will come back. I know you're really great that way. I asked you the last minute this time, and you were there. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I'm sure that we'll find another reason to talk again. And
It would be
I know
my honor, and it's always a pleasure.
yeah, so my pleasure too. And I want to thank everybody at home for joining us. I hope it's been informative. I hope we've helped, shed some light on some of the darkness that we're living in. Just remember, never give up hope, because there are good people like Peter, like Maxime, that do care about their fellow man. And you do matter. You do have purpose, even if you don't know it. God didn't waste a second didn't waste a second. Everybody has a purpose. There's no junk among us. And even the worst of us can be, redeemed. So thank you all. We'll see you next time. Monday the 18th, I have a show with Sean Buckley, who was the lead counsel and a constitutional lawyer, but he was the lead counsel for the National Citizens Inquiry. So join us for that show. I look forward to getting your questions, and thank you for coming on the Truth Table and joining me on the Truth Table, episode 98, almost 100, brother. Until then, have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.